It was the kind of morning that felt like the world was holding its breath. A gray drizzle fell steadily, painting the city streets with a sheen of melancholy. John Mathers, a seasoned bus driver with over 20 years behind the wheel, sat in his seat, watching the wipers rhythmically swipe across the windshield. The bus was warm and filled with the quiet rustling of passengers clutching coffee cups and murmuring into phones. Another ordinary Tuesday, or so he thought. John was never late. Not once in his 23-year career. His reputation was built on reliability. The kind of man who knew every pothole on his route, every regular by name. He prided himself on that quiet sense of duty. But as the bus rolled down a side street near Westwood Park, something unusual caught his eye. A small shape, barely visible through the rain, lay on the side of the road. He squinted, then pressed gently on the brakes, drawing curious glances from the passengers. As the bus slowed to a halt, John saw it clearly, an injured golden retriever, its leg bent at an unnatural angle, whimpering in the rain. A voice behind him muttered, "What's the hold-up?" But John had already made up his mind. He stood up, reached for his raincoat, and stepped outside. The dog didn't move as he approached, but its eyes met his, full of pain and fear. John knelt beside it, rain soaking through his pants, and whispered softly, "Hey buddy, it's all right. I got you." He took off his coat and gently wrapped the trembling animal in it. Then, without a second thought, he carried the dog back to the bus. Murmurs turned to protests. "What is this? A dog rescue service," a woman barked. "I'm going to be late for work," another complained. John said nothing. He laid the dog carefully on a dry seat and turned to the passengers. "Anyone who wants to get off here, I won't stop you. But I'm not leaving this dog behind." Most stayed. A few got off, grumbling. He radioed dispatch to explain, but the response was cold. "Stick to your route, John. We'll talk about this later." He took a detour and drove straight to a nearby veterinary clinic. The vet, surprised by the arrival of a city bus and its unusual passenger, rushed out. John stayed until the dog was inside, then returned to his bus and finished the route, nearly 45 minutes late. That afternoon, his supervisor called him into the office. "There's no excuse for this," the supervisor said, not even looking him in the eye. "We can't have drivers making personal detours. You're being let go." John's mouth went dry. Fired. After decades of service. Over a dog. He walked home in the rain, his coat still at the clinic with the retriever. Every step felt heavier than the last. He sat alone in his apartment that evening, staring at the wall, wondering if he'd made a mistake. Had he chosen an animal over his livelihood? The next morning, a knock echoed through his apartment. John opened the door to find 3 black luxury cars idling outside his building. 3 sharply dressed individuals stepped forward. "Mr. Mathers," one asked. "We need to talk." They introduced themselves as representatives from a well-known animal welfare foundation. The dog he'd rescued had a microchip. It belonged to a prominent philanthropist's daughter. They'd been searching for the dog for days. The daughter, heartbroken, had nearly given up hope, until she received a call from the vet about the men who'd stopped his entire route to help. "We'd like to offer you a job," the woman said, smiling. "We run a mobile animal rescue program. Vans, drivers, caregivers. People like you, with heart. Full benefits. More pay than the city ever gave." John's knees nearly buckled. He shook their hands in stunned silence. But the surprises didn't end there. Later that week, a video had surfaced, recorded by a teenage passenger on the bus. It showed John kneeling in the rain, lifting the dog, whispering words of comfort. The video went viral. Comments poured in, "This is the kind of hero we need. Give this man his job back. Compassion should never be punished." The city's transit office, under pressure from the public, issued a formal apology. The mayor called him personally to thank him for his compassion and offered to reinstate his job. John declined. He had found a new path, one that aligned with his heart. Weeks later, John sat behind the wheel again. Not of a city bus, but of a bright, clean rescue van. In the back, the golden retriever, now fully healed and full of life, wagged its tail beside 2 newly rescued pups. As the van pulled away from the curb, John looked in the rearview mirror and smiled. Sometimes, the right choice costs everything. But sometimes, it gives you everything in return. The message? One act of kindness can change the course of a life, yours and someone else's. Even when the world punishes compassion, hold on to it. You never know who's watching. Or what's waiting just around the corner.